Forget the nagging wife cliché. Forget the goddess defined only by jealousy. Hera, Queen of Olympus, sister and wife to Zeus, wielded power that could make the king of the gods himself pause. Reducing her to simple envy ignores the divine authority she commanded and the sacred laws she upheld. It also ignores the terrifying consequences she unleashed when crossed. This isn't just about Hera's anger, it's about her dominion. Hera wasn't an afterthought. She was one of the original 6 Olympians, born to the titans Cronus and Rhea. Her earliest moments were steeped in dread. She was swallowed whole by her father, Cronus. He was paranoid about a prophecy foretelling his downfall at the hands of his own child. Imagine that existence, trapped in darkness, a prisoner in your parents' belly. When Zeus finally engineered their escape, he freed Hera and her siblings. She emerged not as a consort in waiting, but as divine royalty with an inherent right to rule. Her path to becoming queen, however, was complex, and in some versions, deeply violating. Zeus desired her, but she initially resisted. Picture this: Zeus, king of the gods, transforming himself into a small, shivering cuckoo caught in a violent storm. He flutters near Hera, appearing helpless. Moved by compassion, the goddess draws the poor bird to her breast to warm it. In that instant, the cuckoo vanishes, and she finds herself in the powerful embrace of Zeus himself. Many accounts state he then raped her, using the shock and his power to force the union. Other versions suggest a more complex courtship, but the element of coercion often underpins their beginning. Regardless, their marriage became the cornerstone of the Olympian hierarchy. Zeus reigned supreme, but Hera took her throne beside him. She was crowned goddess of marriage, women, childbirth, and the family. This role was the bedrock of society. Her role was fundamental. Now let's address that infamous jealousy. Zeus swore fidelity, a vow essential to the very institution Hera represented. Yet his constant sexual affairs were legendary. They were a flagrant disrespect, not just to Hera personally, but to the sanctity of marriage itself. Each time Zeus had sex with another goddess, nymph, or mortal, it was a public undermining of Hera's status. It was an attack on divine law. So when Hera reacted, it wasn't always simple, personal fury. Often, she was acting as the enforcer. She defended her sacred domain, preserved cosmic order, and protected her throne from the consequences of Zeus's infidelity. Imagine Leto, beautiful Leto, pregnant after Zeus had sex with her, carrying his divine twins, Apollo and Artemis. She wandered the earth searching for a place, any place, to safely give birth. But from Olympus, Hera watched, her anger cold and absolute. A decree went out, imbued with the queen's authority. No land rooted firm in the earth shall offer this woman sanctuary. Think of the power in those words. This powerful decree meant the very mountains seemed to turn their backs. Islands shrank away. Leto walked endlessly, an outcast tormented by escalating labor pains. She was utterly alone. Zeus offered no protection from Hera's wrath. This continued until the floating island of Delos finally dared to defy the queen. Hera's command had bent the world to her will, inflicting agonizing delay and suffering. And then there was Heracles. His name, ironically meaning glory of Hera, became a sign of her enduring opposition. He was born from one of Zeus's many adulterous acts. Hera's campaign started almost immediately. Night fell. In the crib lay the infant Heracles. Under the cover of darkness, acting on the queen's silent, vengeful command, 2 enormous serpents slithered into the nursery. Their scales whispered death, their fangs were bared. Their mission? Murder Zeus's illegitimate son. The stakes were absolute, but as the snakes lunged, tiny, impossibly strong hands shot out. The baby grasped their necks, strangling the life out of them as if they were merely toys. Hera was thwarted, but not deterred. Years passed. Heracles grew into a celebrated hero, found love, had children. But the Queen of Olympus had a long memory. She reached into his mind, inflicting a terrifying madness. Suddenly his beloved wife Megara, his innocent children, appeared to him as monstrous enemies. Blinded by this divine delusion, Heracles unleashed his phenomenal strength and murdered them. The result was carnage. When sanity returned, the weight of his horrific actions crushed him. This horrific act, committed in madness, set him on the agonizing path of the 12 labors as penance. Many whispered that Hera's unseen hand made these already perilous tasks even deadlier. Tasks like battling hydras and capturing hellhounds. She ensured his suffering continued. Why? Because Heracles, by his very existence and power, threatened the Olympian order. Yet, after his mortal death and ascent to godhood, Hera finally reconciled. She accepted him and even married him to her daughter Hebe. Her wrath fell on others caught in Zeus's sexual pursuits. Picture Callisto, a devoted follower of the virgin goddess Artemis. Zeus desired her, and using trickery, he raped her. When Hera discovered this violation and the resulting pregnancy, her punishment was transformative and cruel. Fur sprouted on Callisto's skin. Her hands turned to paws. Her voice became a growl. She was turned into a bear. She was doomed to be hunted in the very forests she once protected. Callisto lived in constant fear. Tragically, she was almost killed by her own son, Arcas, before Zeus placed them both in the stars. Consider Echo, a nymph whose chatter distracted Hera, while Zeus was off having sex with other nymphs. When Hera found out, her judgment was swift. "Since you love your voice so much," the queen declared, "you shall lose the power to speak first. You will only repeat the last words spoken to you." Stripped of her own voice, Echo lost her identity, unable to express herself, eventually fading away. And poor Io, another woman Zeus had sex with, whom he tried to hide by turning her into a cow. Hera saw through it. Feigning admiration, she demanded the cow as a gift, trapping Zeus. She then set the 100-eyed giant Argus to watch Io. Even after Argus was killed, Hera sent a vicious gadfly. Imagine the relentless torment. Io was stung constantly. She was driven into a maddened frenzy across continents for years, a fate of prolonged torture and exile. Look, Hera's story is intense, right? Full of power plays, brutal consequences, and raw actions. If you're finding this dive into the real Hera fascinating, do me a quick favor and hit that like button down below. It really helps support the channel. And even better, drop a comment. Maybe tell me which Hera myth surprised you the most. Or perhaps which Greek god or goddess you want to see get this deep dive treatment next. Let me know. Now, back to Hera. But Hera's power wasn't solely reactive. She wasn't just the anti-Zeus force. She possessed independent authority. She was Queen of the Gods, sitting beside Zeus on her own throne, participating in divine councils. Her word carried weight. She even possessed the power of creation, though sometimes driven by rivalry. When Athena sprang fully formed from Zeus's head, Hera felt the profound insult. So, she perhaps thought, two can play at that game. Determined, she conceived a child entirely by herself. She did this parthenogenetically. This child was Hephaestus. But joy turned to ash. Some myths say the child was born lame. In a fit of pique or shame at this perceived imperfection, Hera violently cast him out. She sent her own son tumbling from the heights of Olympus. This maternal rejection and violence fostered a deep bitterness in the brilliant, crippled god. He would later forge a treacherous golden throne to exact revenge. This trapped the mother who rejected him until Dionysus intervened. She even dared to challenge Zeus's supremacy directly. Pushed too far, Hera became the core of a daring conspiracy with Poseidon and Apollo. While Zeus slept, they moved swiftly, binding the king of the gods with supposedly unbreakable chains. Olympus held its breath. At stake was the throne itself, the entire cosmic order. Had they succeeded, chaos would have reigned. But the fearsome hundred-handed giant Briareus arrived. The mere sight of him shattered the conspirators' resolve. Zeus was freed. His authority was brutally reasserted when he hung Hera from the sky by golden chains, with anvils weighing down her feet. A brutal consequence, proving the danger of opposing him, but also showcasing Hera's incredible audacity. Her influence decisively shaped mortal history, nowhere more famously than the decade-long Trojan War. The seeds were sown years earlier at a wedding feast, with a golden apple tossed for the fairest. The Trojan prince, Paris, was chosen to judge between Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. When he awarded the apple to Aphrodite in exchange for the most beautiful mortal woman, he earned Hera's profound and lasting hatred. This wasn't just a political stance, it was a deeply personal vendetta against him and his city. That slight festered into undying enmity. When war finally erupted between the Achaeans, Greeks, and Trojans over Helen, Hera's position was immovable. She threw her immense influence and divine weight behind the Greeks. She was tirelessly scheming. She was even deceiving Zeus himself at critical moments. Hera persuaded other gods and directly intervened to aid heroes like Diomedes or protect Menelaus. Ultimately, her relentless divine backing was fueled by that ancient grudge. It was a significant factor contributing to the Greeks' eventual brutal victory. This victory led to the utter destruction and slaughter that consumed Troy. When Hera chose a side, empires could indeed crumble into dust. Her sacred symbols all spoke of her diverse aspects. These symbols included the watchful peacock, the nurturing cow, the fertile pomegranate, and her royal diadem. These aspects included majesty, motherhood, marriage fidelity, and queenship. Across Greece, magnificent temples stood in her honor, especially at Samos and Argos, proof of her importance in the lives of ordinary people. They prayed to her for protection over their families and unions. So, Hera, Queen of Olympus, goddess of marriage, women, and childbirth. Far more than just jealousy. She was a foundational pillar of the divine order and a fierce protector of her domain. She was capable of immense creation and devastating destruction through violence and decree. Her actions shaped myths, determined the outcomes of wars, and left an indelible mark. A complex, powerful, and often terrifying figure who demanded respect and whose influence was inescapable.